Hello, today we will present about the analysis of tourism industry of Thailand with macroeconomic indicator, including economic cycle and government policy, how they impact this service. So let's start. So for the table of content, first thing is economic cycle. Yeah, the question is, what's the economic cycle in Thailand right now? Second is government policy. What is the government policy in Thailand and how does it impact travel services? Third one is the effect of travel and hotel business. What does tourism understand about opportunity and crisis? And what tourism income distribution knowing to target each group? The fourth is application to tourist industry decision. How will the tourism industry plan back up issue with the COVID-19? First one is economic cycle. So let's talk. It's believed that at present, the Thai economy has passed its peak, and now it is considered that Thai economy is entering an expansion cycle in the contraction period. So let's see the reason is that Thai economy has a relatively high dependence on income from foreign tourists compared to other countries. In the Asian region together, this is despite progress on the development and introduction of the vaccine in some countries. But the tenfold significant increase in the number of foreign tourists will not occur until about the end of 2021, likely when people around the world will receive more widespread vaccination. And it is estimated that it may take at least a few years for the number of foreign tourists to come to Thailand to return to their original level before the outbreak. As a result, foreign tourists to Thailand in 2021 are expected to remain only 4 million out of 6.7 million in 2020, which are caused by deflation. In addition, some of the tourism businesses that were established during the expansion will impact until the closure.
So I'm gonna talk about GDP. The new COVID-19 outbreak spread quickly across the country, may cause the economy in the second quarter into a sustained recession. From the example event, it can be seen that the return of COVID-19 pandemic in the country is the third wave again. Such a situation as a result, Thai tourism who plan to travel during this second quarter have to postpone their travel plan. In particular, tourism during this Songkran festival in 2021, which has adjusted domestic travel plan of Thai people during Songkran festival. Between 10 to 18 April 2021, may cause the tourism business to lose income worth not less than 10 billion baht. However, after the end of a long vacation, the pandemic has spread to all provinces throughout the country. The number of new infections daily increased at a higher accelerated compared to past outbreak has continually come and make a higher record. Recently, the government has taken work from home measures both public and private to limit and reduce activity to create or increase the risk of COVID-19. It also asked for cooperation in social spacing, which has been in effect since April 18 intensely for 2 weeks, so it can be said that the tourism industry must operate in the environment that is not yet available. Of course, the recovery of Thai economy this year is likely to slow down and decline from the previous forecast. Much of the decline is affected by the third COVID-19 outbreak, which is expected by the government to implement up to months of lockdown. To sum up, the most anticipate GDP that there will be a high probability that this year GDP is likely to slow and for certainly lower than expected. Next. So I'm gonna talk about index factor in GDP. Consumption. The stability of Thai financial system is still fragile due to slow economy recovery, given the weak financial status and debt servicing ability of household and business in next phase. A new wave of COVID-19 outbreak will make the difference in the economy recovery even more different, especially in the services business related to tourism. Therefore, the financial status and debt repayment capability of a household and business sector must be closely monitored. Private investment Private investment gradually recovered from investment in machinery and equipment better than expected in the line with the international trade and private consumption. While private investment in the part of joint investment project between the public and private sector, especially the investment project in the Eastern Special Developed Zone, is more clear. Net export of service still sink and trend to recover slowly. Expected that the number of foreign tourists in 2021 will drop to 3.0 million and 21.5 million in 2022 due to the delay more than expected gradual introduction of Thai tourism international travel restriction for Chinese tourists, delay in vaccination in some countries, and COVID-19 mutation affecting confidence in travel. Next, inflation. The impact of new outbreak of COVID-19 combined with measures to temporarily reduce the cost of living results in the both headline and core inflation decreased significantly from the previous month. At the first, the pandemic situation threatened to subside. There is a relaxation of epidemic control measure and measure to support the domestic spending from the Kolakun measure ending in March 2021, including the Lauchana measure affect the pricing power of the people and make the trade more active, expected to boost domestic spending. Therefore, headline inflation is expected to gradually increase, but a new outbreak of COVID-19 escalate again in early April may cause the economy in the second quarter into recession. This will result in working from home. Of course, spending in country has to be reduced. Finally, it is starting to see the picture of Thailand fighting the depression of country again. Next, I'm going to talk about reduced employment. Nearly 20% of the economy affected by the negative employment are administrative and support service activities. Employment business to business which are in the line with the government city shutdown measure. Although the overall labor market has a chance to recover, it's still fragile following economic direction, and there is still a high uncertainty factor from the outbreak of COVID-19. As a result, Thai workers have a high chance of being unemployment and have a tendency to be offered a voluntary resignation scheme or worker with only 1 year of working age and another target group to reduce the number of employers as well. Due to this situation, most operators had to speed up their spending cut into the sustain their business as well. Next.
Government policy. Next. Fiscal policy. At present, we can see that the government has gradually launched measures to mitigate the impacts, encourage spending and support a wide variety of domestic tourism. The new outbreak, which started in mid-December and saw a sharp rise in the number of the domestic infection has hurt confidence. Some economic activity has been disrupted and the income of some workers. The implementation of Rao Chana project measures, including half the extension of the project rise, likely to be one of the positive factors that will support some household spending factors supported by government measures to stimulate spending. In particular, the คนละครึ่ง and ช็อปดีมีคืน projects play an important role in helping sustain the continued economic recovery. Half of the project for both phases 1 and 2 will help support cash flow in the economic up to 1.5 million baht. With this measure, it will be able to stimulate domestic spending, which can be attributed to tourism and thus gain more benefit to help boost tourism. Reopening country. Although COVID-19 is now back for the third time, this plan will not be abandoned. The government has approved 6 areas open to foreign tourists by setting the first phase beginning the 1st of April 2021 in 6 areas, including Phuket, Krabi, Phang-nga, เกาะสมุย พัทยา and เชียงใหม่ for foreign tourists with a complete vaccination certificate and a negative COVID-19 test result will receive a reduction in the quarantine date within the hotel with remaining 7 days. Phase 2 on the 1st of July 2021 will begin the Phuket Sandbox project as a prototype without detention, but tourists must stay in Phuket for at least 7 days before they can travel to other areas. Phase 3, starting on the 1st of October 2021, will expand the Sandbox project in the remaining 5 pilot areas to pave the way of the goal of full-scale tourist exposure early next year. The local population must be vaccinated to build group immunity, so the vaccination efficacy must be monitored along with the tourist exposure plans. Next. ทัวร์เที่ยวไทย get 5,000 baht travel to the country 1 million privileges. The government approved a new project ทัวร์เที่ยวไทย which gives 5,000 baht for 1 million rides to stimulate public spending through domestic tourism to increase liquidity for hotel business operation and related business, with the government supporting public travel expense in the form of co-pay. 40% of the travel package expense, but not exceeding 5,000 baht, which must be cross travel province on weekdays, Sunday to Thursday, at least 3 days, 2 nights. The price of the travel program does not have a minimum price. This project will grant 1 million rides to be public with a budget of 5,000 million baht from May to August 2021, which the tour company has to create a 3-day, 2 nights tour program. One tour company can accept no more than 3,000 tourists. The government expected a tour to revive the business of the Thai tourism sector. Next. Monetary policy. The government withhold policy interest at a record low of 0.50% throughout this year due to weak and uneven economic recovery. It is necessary to take target measures, and over the past week, authorities say it was in the process of developing additional measures to an asset warehousing program to help tour operators, especially hotel and related business that are debtors of commercial banks and state specialized banks. The group has been severely affected by both rounds of COVID-19 outbreak, which are initially expected to be operational in the second quarter of this year. Next.
So, for the overall economic situation analysis, first in the evaluation of the COVID-19 crisis affect tourism around the world. International travel figures are expected to drop more than 70%, and it can take up to 3 years to recover. Second is the number of tourists and tourism income of the ASEAN regions have declined nearly 90%. And in 2021, what will be the overall growth of Thai tourism, and what trends and challenges are there to keep an eye on? So next.
The effect travel and hotel business that I'm gonna talk about after COVID-19. The COVID-19 that does not only affect to the tourism and hotel business. In the short term, if it still has a long-term effect that will cause a change in tourism behavior of the fast-growing Thai tourism and hotel business, generating huge amount of income for the country each year, face an unprecedented crisis from the COVID-19 pandemic and threat to last long. Therefore, it is a visual that the tourism industry accelerate adjustment to maintain income level and to look for a new business opportunity related to tourism business strategy should be adjusted before international travel return to normalcy in order to restore the tourism and hotel business to return to its strong growth as usual. Next.
So another factor is Thai tourism sector has collapsed since the announcements of emergency decree and the measure temporarily prohibited aircraft from the flying into Thailand from 3 April 2020 to 30 September 2020, causing no foreign tourists to travel to Thailand. However, from October 2020, foreign tourists have started to return to a limited number according to the special tourist visa. Measure under sticking restriction such as 14-day detention. In the first 11 months of 2020, the number of foreign tourists dropped nearly 80%, mainly Chinese and Indians, which caused Thailand to lose income about 1.5 trillion baht from foreign tourists in 2020, from 1.9 trillion baht in 2019, and still don't know how many tourists will return to Thailand in 2021. So let's talk about how the way to solve the education to tourist industry decision. So assume that via the travel and hotel business. First choice is minimizing costs as possible. So within the prison, it is important to accelerate to adjust to being able to continue their business, such as reduce room rate, modify the service model, focuses on the domestic tourism market, reduce expense and earning income from related business. For example, we can see many hotels offer work from hotel service instead of work from home, including collaborating with online food ordering application from in-house restaurant. Next.
So I'm gonna talk about understanding more demographic and social change. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating impact on the middle class as rising unemployment and lower income. For this reason, it has completely transformed the view of tourism demand diverse from the broad-based approach to the targeted approach based on the model, need and behavior of tourists of the different age. The Gen Y and Gen Z group are modern group and therefore prefer to use technology to make their travel comfortable, rise and adventure travel and travel purpose to experience as they often travel alone in pair or is small group. Despite some fear of the COVID-19, they are ready to live again. However, they have limited budget and short stay. And the next is the Gen X group focus on travel that make for a memorable experience with family travel, sport tourism, or business trip. Following the outbreak of COVID-19, Gen X group become more expanded due to the pandemic impact. And Gen X are often family-run and elderly care group. Therefore, there are more travel concerns than the Gen Z and Gen Y group that often travel during long vacation and not very long distance. Baby boomers ahead of the COVID-19 outbreak were estimated that the group had potential for tourism spending due to high purchasing power and there are no restrictions on the rent of the trip. However, after the pandemic, this group of people is particularly anxious about traveling as emphasizing data suggests that older adults are more likely to have more serious infectious effect compared to other population which can lead to serious illness and live the treating after COVID-19. We need to come up with strategy to help them build confidence in this group regarding cleanliness. Next.
Next. For the third one is about travel adjustment to the individual needs or individualization. The recent tourism sector has focused on creating emerging destinations to attract tourism of our age group. But the COVID-19 crisis has made travel preference and behavior different for different age. So we should focus on analyzing the need of different and various tourists in order to offer service that meet the individual need of travel plan, activity of interest and appropriate budget by taking advantage of technological advance that make data collection and processing process more efficient and relevant to the need of individual travelers, such as public relations and marketing, targeting travelers according to the age of the group, focusing on attracting tourists who take advantage of government tourism stimulus measure. Also, for the fourth one is health and hygiene come number one. After the COVID-19 pandemic, the future of tourism and hotel businesses will pay more attention to safety, health, and sanitation, since tourists will pay more attention to the destination health policy and the health of the attraction. We should cooperate with surrounding community to develop local community to be safe, clean, free, and from disease risks. Thank you.
Thank you.